Well, let's bring Barbara on, and she can tell us about her business and see how we can help her. Hi, Barbara. Thank you for waiting.
Hi, Simon. Thank you for inviting me.
Not at all. Great to have you here. So you're on with myself and Tom, and my community is listening in. I'm going to put up what you're doing on the screen, but why don't you tell us?
Perfect. So I'm Barbara. I moved to London in 2017. Originally, I'm from Croatia. I launched remotebobuk in 2019. First, we started with sourcing different remote employees for UK startups. And now we are currently building a platform based on artificial intelligence that instantly connects startup owners with extremely talented remote employees. And at this moment, we are focused on admin and marketing. So far, we've been self-funded. Now we are reaching the stage where we are planning to raise seed funding. And at the moment, we have around 12 people working in an internal team and 50 virtual assistants that are occasionally working on client projects. My personal background is in sociology, communication science, accounting, and I did executive MBA. And now I'll stop talking because I don't want to be one of these people who just come and talk about themselves.
Fascinating. Why did you start this business exactly? What was the pain? Tom was talking earlier in the podcast about, find a pain point. Was this a pain point?
Yeah, so at the time I was working as a go-to-market consultant for early stage startups, and I realized that they all have similar problem. Like they get seed funding and they want to create something big, but as soon as they hire a project manager, developer, their funding is almost gone already, and they don't even manage to finalize their MVP. Well, at the same time, if they would go for a remote team, maybe like from Eastern Europe, or just even people who are still UK based, but they like flexible remote work, they could hire the whole team of 10 people to deliver everything for them, and they would still have enough funding to even launch their product. So that was my initial idea and pain point that I saw, and then I started connecting people from my network in Croatia with those startup owners in the UK where I was working on projects, and it worked well. It was kind of win-win for everyone because the startup was getting reliable, talented, smart, amazing employee who was probably like quite affordable considering standard UK salaries. Well, someone who is based in Eastern Europe would be really happy to work for a UK startup. It was like learning opportunity, international project, and the salary he was getting was quite well for their like standard of living locally.
And what's your sorry, can I jump in, Simon? What's your differentiation? Because you're coming into a market where there's an interesting variety of platforms here, from the sort of the networks of virtual assistants like Pink Spaghetti. You've got the so the online platforms like Fiverr, and is your differentiation the AI matching, or is it the curation of the people on the platform? How does it work?
So let's say in Fiverr and Upwork, and I'm using those platforms quite often for, let's say, when I need developer or something similar. And what I see as a big problem on those platforms is even when you post a project, you get like 50 people getting in touch with you in 1 hour. And then even if you want to find a perfect person, you still have to invest. Well, with us, we will make sure that you get your ideal candidate. And on top of it, policy of our company is that we guarantee that work will actually be delivered. So during our research, we found out that when people are hiring remote staff, their biggest fear is like, what if that person doesn't deliver something, or what if they don't respect confidentiality agreements? So for them, it's extremely important to have to get that additional safety net, to have someone with good reputation to guarantee that it will actually be done, that we will personally make sure it's delivered, that that freelancer won't disappear overnight. So it's quite different. I feel like that's kind of differentiation point.
That's really interesting.
Now, what about scaling the business? What are the pain points right now for you?
Well, for now, since we've been self-funded, we've been growing organically. So that meant, let's say, we started signing clients in March, and ever since then, all the clients that we signed up, they're all extending collaboration. We didn't lose anyone, and every month we probably get like 3-4 new clients. So for now, our revenue is growing like for 20% each month, but now we finally managed to get some budget for paid ads. So on the 21st of September, we'll actually launch few big marketing campaigns where we are expecting, instead of getting 5 inquiries a week, we'll be getting 50 inquiries a week. So I feel that will be a really important moment for us.
Very interesting. So what can we do to help you, do you think? What do you need?
I need 2 things. First, some introductions to investors, or at least recommendations for good investor events. I was checking online and there are many of them. So I'm really not sure which one of them are like actually good. For example, I know that in Institute of Directors events are usually good, but also I've been to some like new entrepreneurship networks that were really horrible. So I would like to avoid those and learn that from someone's recommendation rather than on my own experience. That's first, so investors, and second, introductions to new potential clients. That's always good for us.
Well, hopefully from this broadcast, you'll get some new potential clients, and we'll put your links down below for anyone listening now or listening later that wants to get a personal virtual assistant and social media support. I'm sure they'll reach out. As far as the investment side's concerned, I mean, I've invested in 66 startups myself. So, I think a lot of the time, the investment community will seek you out if you're doing well. So, my favorite interview is Mark Zuckerberg when he first got investment at Facebook, and someone said, "How did you just get $14 million investment?" He said, "They came to us."
Whoa.
So I know it sounds odd, but if you can continue to do what you are doing, you will get people approaching you, because there are people sitting on money even in the COVID era that want to find good things to invest in. I often say to people at the beginning for investment, I do believe I like AngelList as a platform. I'm an investor in their funds, so I have some bias, but I think the platform itself is useful. There's lots of angel investors listed on there, and what's good about that platform is you can see what they've invested in and what their skill set is. In other words, what they can bring to the table. Because I think in your early days, that's the most important thing. And I feel like having someone maybe like Tom, for example, involved, he has a lot of corporate relationships, that could lead to introductions and having corporate clients. So it's not just about having an investor for the capital, right? If you're going to spend that money on advertising to get more clients, sometimes you can save money by just having someone that can introduce you to a whole new slew of clients.
I was actually thinking about that, and for example, for us, it would be ideal to find some investor, for example, a person who has like company with 50 lawyers, because that could also be strategic partnership, because each one of those lawyers will need an assistant. And at the moment, I do have one dedicated person in a team who is working only on research of investors on AngelList. So we are already preparing that. And let's say the same when it's about partnerships. For now, we signed partnerships with like London Nannies, Elegant Business Network. This week, we'll probably close with 6 more IT companies. So like a lot of things are going on. And I would just like to add that for the next 3 months, we are offering some special deals for startups, which means that they don't have to delegate tasks to VAs, that they can come to us with a goal. For example, new startup can come to us and say, we want to acquire first client. And then we will come up with action plan and with the whole strategy. And if they like it, our assistants will do it for them. The same as some coaches and speakers are coming to us and saying, we want to have 10 more speaking gigs next month. Can you make it happen? And then we will come up with action plan and suggest it for them. So I think that's also some extra perk that we are offering for now, just because we are working with, for now we are working with a low volume of clients, so we can afford ourselves to do that.
I mean, the startups, I mean, 2 things occur to me. One is it sounds like the bulk of your costs are going to be on marketing. If you're already growing with a relatively small investment organically, you increase that investment, you should be increasing at a greater rate. So, I mean, are you partnered with any sort of marketing agencies, a big independent marketing agency who probably sat on reasonable cash flow? Most of the ones I work with have actually seen a pretty good few months. The first half of COVID was awful. But after the year ended, sort of April, they've actually had a pretty good 3 months. I wonder if you could partner with a marketing agency who's got specialisms in SEO, paid social, and actually they could siphon some cash. And so I know a few agencies. There's a company called Apadme, who I know, one of the biggest mobile software development companies. They have a venture fund, and so they invest the profits from their software development arm into their venture fund and small startups. And I think quite a lot of larger independent agencies have started doing the same. The other one that occurs is if you want to get in front of investors, and as Simon's saying, people are going to come to people who are doing good work. The best thing you can do is do really good work for the startups. I wonder what you could do to dramatically expand your presence within the startup community. Whether that is, that may be what your investment goes towards, but some investment which effectively gives them a free hour of support, whatever it may be, across the startup community. The same way, actually, when Uber went to new cities, the first thing they did was hit all the startup communities with free vouchers, and got them using the service first.
Yeah,
I agree. Yeah.
I will add to what Tom said, actually, which I love. I think he's onto something. There is an element I always think about when I'm building a business, how I can do one thing but achieve two things by doing that one thing. So, for example, maybe if you're selling to the startups, you can also say to the startups, hey, who are your investors? Can I service them? And can I help them? And if you maybe get their investors excited about what you're doing, then that's one more layer. But you're still selling your service ultimately. So almost selling your service to the investment community is a pretty interesting niche, by the way, because as an investor myself, I do have very little time. So, a lot of what you're talking about is virtual assistant. I have a full-time assistant. She's probably listening to this broadcast right now. She's not cheap. It's very hard to get help that can really help you in real time. So, but I do think, if you can sell your service to the community that could invest in you, and I'm sure that might already be the case, by the way, because that could be the other angle. Sometimes going internally before you go externally is a good way. Anyone that's using you right now can see how good your service is. You might be surprised if you ask them, they could invest. If they're a company, they might see an opportunity to invest. As Tom just said, some of them have funds. Some of them have, set up I think innovation funds to invest in exactly what you're talking about. So that's worth going internal before you try to look for an external investor. And I think I can say this as an external investor. Sometimes getting external investors could become a right pain. If they are not a client, you have to service them, and you have a monkey on your back, and it can consume your energy when what you want to be doing is servicing clients. So if you actually have your client as an investor, one, you lock in the client, and two, you get real-time feedback because they're a client, and three, hopefully, they will help you grow because they will be a testimonial. They'll be a case study.
What's your payment model? I mean, how do people pay you afterwards? People buy credit up front? How do people pay for the service?
So our rate for social media experts and virtual assistants is between 12 and 25 pounds an hour. It depends on do you require a strategy and what scope of responsibilities is it going to be and how many hours is it. For now, we have two models. One is for clients who prefer getting fixed package of hours and they prepay it in advance. And the second model, people who are not sure how many hours they will require. We are just tracking hours on a daily basis in shared Google Sheet, and we invoice them on the end of the month. So let's say even for people who are a bit micromanagers, this is great model because they get list of 200 tasks that have been done and a really detailed description, 15 minutes for this task, 30 minutes for this task. So you don't have to wonder did I pay someone to sit in front of a computer from 9 to 5? Who knows, did they even do anything? So I feel it's quite beneficial for those entrepreneurs as well. And I feel that what you mentioned, partnering with marketing agency would definitely be something exciting for us because I was planning to invest 80% of funding in marketing anyway. So that would be something smart.
Yeah, there are a lot of agencies of the right sort of size now who made a lot of money out of SEO, etc., who've got that scale to invest. I just wondered if there was something you could do with those pay-as-you-go customers, getting them to buy vouchers up front, so giving them a discount on the hourly rate if they buy,
Well, let's say I was thinking about that, but for now, I'm really happy with them because let's say probably they would subscribe for 10 or 20 hours a week, and this way they are really happy. So they are just giving us more and more tasks. So in the end, we end up working even more than if they would get fixed package.
it was just more a way of getting more cash in up front.
But that would be nice. Yeah, I agree.
I think crowdfunding could also be a good thing. I'm sure you thought of that too, but that can also be a good way of marketing your business as well as getting investors. A lot of investors on the platforms there already. What's your thoughts on crowdfunding?
Well, I was thinking about Kickstarter, and we started preparing campaign, but then since our bank account is on Revolut, Kickstarter didn't want to approve us because of that. So I just
more product based anyway. I mean, in the sense that they're more like, a suitcase, revolutionary suitcase. I'm thinking more like Crowdcube or one of those guys, like equity crowdfunding, where they basically got the investor community and, you just introduce your business to them. And that investor community, you could do like what Tom just said, another good point he made there. You could add on, you invest in my business and get 3 months of the service included, and more they invest. I just invested in a company called Mevo. And it's a digital online broadcasting camera company. But when I invested in them as an investor, they gave me all this equipment and all this support and all these other things as part of my investment package. I would have invested in them anyway, but the point is that makes me sticky to them, right? And that's something to think about. And those things don't cost much money. I mean, a good video maybe to explain what you're doing, but I don't think these days that's that hard.
That's a good idea. That's something that I didn't thought of before. Quite helpful.
Worst case, even if it fails and you don't raise the money, you're going to get loads of marketing through their system.
Yeah. And they're really good marketing platforms.
That's the only reason I suggest people would ever go on Dragon's Den. I never would sell 40% of a company to one person of my business, but you end up working for them if you do that. But conceptually, the marketing side of Dragon's Den, go in there and then just say no to an investment. It's good marketing, right?
Yeah, it makes sense. I also think for us, it's great to go on many networking events and pitch on the stage. I feel like after each one of those events, we get some interesting opportunity.
I think you have an opportunity to do quite an interesting marketing campaign generally. So, for example, I just spent 48 hours off social media, and I literally felt the withdrawal. My fingers went numb where I wasn't typing. I really felt it. But on a serious note, I do think there's a social media problem right now where people are addicted to social media, and there are a lot of people trying to break that addiction. And so tapping into mental health, social media, and kind of almost offering what you're doing as a way of people being able to frankly outsource that stress. I think it's interesting.
That's a quite cool idea for Ed. We can post something like, stop having mental health problems with social media. Rather, your virtual assistant can have them instead of you.
You've got to be careful with it. But one thing I was looking at for myself, and maybe this is something we can collaborate on. I'm interested if the community listening thinks this is a good idea too. But I was suggesting that everyone stop social media at weekends. Everybody, the whole planet. Because if everyone stops, then there's no point in posting, right? Because no one's going to see anything anyway. So every weekend, everyone has it off. Now, if some people will say, well, I've got a business to run. I can't not do it. And you could bridge that gap at the weekend. That could be. Everyone gives it to you at the weekend.
We could just have virtual assistants talking to each other for a weekend.
Yeah.
Totally. But somehow business still happens, and the AI tools still talk to the social media. The Russian bots still have something to do at the weekend, so you don't get fired by the Russian government. Now they all need something to do at the weekend, and it could be just outsource it all to you. You be the weekend person. I think. If you could own the weekend, that is a $1 billion company right there.
For me, the bit that really appeals to me from your pitch is that you're not getting people to do the difficult work of choosing. We have far too much choice now. It's probably what my next book's going to be about. Is about the changing way about how we're bringing new intermediaries into our lives to take choice off us, because there's just too much out there. And I love that you're saying, no, we're not going to give you loads of options. We're going to give you an answer. And it's like, there's your answer. We're not, it's not just you just pick and choose from 1,000 different suppliers around the world. Here's your answer, and we guarantee they'll be good. And I really like that. I think, with my sort of marketing head on, that for me is a real selling point. We save you time because we're not just time in the doing, but time in the choosing. I think it's really important.
Yeah.
Well, we're running out of time. So any final questions, Barbara, before we, I've got a few people in the community saying a few things, but have you got anything before I move on?
Is there anything I can do to help you guys?
Well, that's very kind. I'll have a think about that. I probably need social media help. I'm sure we all do on this planet. That's the thing with social media. You can post something every other minute and still not be on top of it.
Yeah. It's fun. It's interesting. I'm posting less at the moment, but finding that my engagement with each post therefore goes up. It's a real balancing act. But no, like Simon, my assistant would probably not be very happy if I said yes to that.
But I've got a few people contributing as well with their ideas. Luke just jumped in and said maybe run virtual events themed around startups' biggest pain points. I think that's an interesting idea. I think sometimes not selling your service directly and building a general. A lot of startups, you've identified in your startup that there is a pain point for businesses where they spend all their money on this kind of virtual assistant and social media stuff instead of focusing in on what's probably important, which is servicing clients, right? And so, I do like the idea that you have a general theme where you're helping startups with all their pain points. So it could be that you have an accountant there, because I know accounts could definitely be a pain point for both
we actually do have that. Like I have 3 groups on Meetup, and each one of them has like around 150 people. And we were thinking about organizing some like virtual summit, but then I realized it's too much work. It's easier just to join other virtual summits. So we already have like few speakers.
You've got to start somewhere. Sometimes owning yourself, you've got to start somewhere. And what I would say to you is, if you're on a mission to raise a seed round, then maybe doing a virtual event around helping investors with their pain points is a way of not saying, hey, do you want to invest in my business? But instead, hey, how can we help you, as you've just done there, creating a virtual event for them. And then you're not spending months individually selling to people. You're inviting them to an event where you'll then help them with their pain points. And along the way, they'll find out about you and then want to invest. And probably at the very least, pick up a few clients.
Turn that around. You could do that as a PR survey. Run a survey of startups. Ask what are the top 5 pain points for startups in the UK. Partner up with one of the startup groups like Tech Nation or someone. Get you sponsor the survey through YouGov or whatever. You got a great piece of PR there.
Good ideas. Thank you, guys.
No problem. And now we've got ideas flowing. Because like Tom's got a new book out, so I'm just plugging it again. Future Proof Your Business. Oh, Tom has left.
Wrong. No, I think, yeah.
He just launched a new book, and I think I'm also launching a book in November myself. And writing a book these days seems to be a good marketing idea. I was just thinking about the worst book you could possibly write is What People Have Asked My Virtual Assistants. Don't ever write that book. I can't imagine, And my grandmother used to work at Harrods, and she used to tell me some of the stories that people used to come in and say, I would like to buy a lion, please. Can you get me a lion? And she was never allowed to talk about it. So probably not a good idea for a book for you, but you'd sell a lot of books, I think. How do you get a book out in the market these days, Tom?
So there's 2 ways. I mean, the way I did it first way was what kind of a shared risk deal. So it's not self-publishing, but you put some skin in the game with the publisher to cover the costs of marketing, etc. So I work with Lid Publishing, Lid Business Media, who I got my first one out with. The nice thing about them is because it's not self-publishing, they do have access to all the big stores. So if you put a book out there, you want to see it in Waterstones, you want to see it in all the shops, and because they've got those relationships, because they're a proper publisher, you get it in there, even if you are putting a bit of cash that way. But the really nice way to do it is to get a proper book deal. But having proven you can write a book is much easier to then go and actually to get one out there. It helps you get an agent, which is what I did. And within a few weeks of getting an agent, she came to me and said, had an interesting conversation with Penguin. Would you be interested in being part of this series? And so, and that's when this one came about. And that's a very different experience when you're working with a big global machine like that. But if you've got a book in you, there's so many ways to get it out there now. And I think those sort of shared risk deals where you do get the profile and the scale and the reach of a real publisher are a really interesting way to go. Yeah. But it does require some capital.
I've just gone through the process myself, so it's definitely an interesting issue. Getting an agent, one that's good, that's not easy. I think even I actually got a book deal with one of the big publishers, but they wanted to release the book November next year. And so that's the other thing. They've got long sales cycles, right? They're not that nimble.
No, not at all.
But then when you get into the self-publishing thing, not only is there a credibility issue, but there is also, as you say, quite a few different ways. I've been looking at Rethink, guys, and
Unbound, and all sorts of ways to do it.
Yeah, but that's a whole subject we could have a conversation on another time. But definitely, I think my audience would love picking apart your process of how you got your books out.
Yeah, it's the first one was I need to get this out of me and get it down on paper. So, how can I get this to market? And I looked at all the options, and that seemed like the best, without spending ages trying to secure a deal with a publisher. I just wanted to get it out there and demonstrate I could do it. And that was the way to get it out quickly and have the advantage of, being able to go and pick up a copy in Waterstones, which was very nice. And they did a deal with WH Smith, so it was in all the airports, which was fantastic. Very nice. In those days when we could still fly around, it was a very nice thing to see.
Well, there you go, Barbara. There's another business, by the way, that your technology needs to address. People press a button and their book goes to market. I think that would be, my virtual assistant could publish my book for me. I'd definitely press that button. Well, guys, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate your time. It's been wonderful to have you guys here, and I hope to have you both back.
Thanks for having me, Simon. Really enjoyed it.
Bye, guys. See you later.
Bye.
Take care. Bye. See you. There you go, guys. That's today's broadcast. My mission is to help 1 million people start a business of their own. We've been at this since January. We've helped 42 people so far. It's a small number, but we're getting there. With people like Tom joining today, sharing his knowledge, that really helps. I hope you found his insights useful. If you found what Tom had to say useful, I know he'd appreciate it if you went and bought his book. If you're lucky, he might even sign a copy and send it to you. Give him a like on his social media pages and go on his LinkedIn and say hello. Sounds like all you have to do is email him and he'll give you all the time you need. He's got all the time in the world by the sounds of it, solving every big brand's problems as well as helping you too. So please feel free to reach out to me anytime. Just drop a comment at the end of the broadcast communications today. Let me know what I can do to help. Reach out to Tom. I'm sure he'd like to hear from you if you found any of what he said today useful. And please give Barbara's company a boost. Go and say hello. If you need a virtual assistant, please join up. And let us know what you're doing and how maybe my platform can help you. Tomorrow, I have a fantastic entrepreneur coming on the show, Sophie Barron from Mama Made. She's going to tell us all about her lucky moment in business on the Good Luck Club podcast. We'll be talking about how she started a business, why she started a business, and what keeps her going today, which I know for a lot of my listeners, and for me included in the many businesses that I built, sometimes it's not easy to build a business on your own, and we all need a bit of company. So that's what we're here to do, guys. Help you along the way. So thank you for listening today. And if we can do anything else to help you, feel free to reach out. And again, if you found anything useful in today's broadcast, please share it, give us a comment, and give us a like. See you later.